One of the things you guys talk about in the book is the idea of building a dream team. Not just hiring people that can fog a mirror, but the people that are really going to take you where you want to go. And that's a tension, especially if you're small and cash is tight. Paying for the talent that you need tomorrow and not just who can do the job today. What's the importance of a dream team?
Well, I tell you, for me, I'll kind of begin this, and then Kevin can really bring it home for us. But what I learned from Kevin and watching him was that up until the point that I met Kevin, I always hired, as he said, I always hired who I could afford, like 99.9% of every entrepreneur out there. Whoever I could afford, I hired. Well, that is a way of growing your business through the rearview mirror, because what you can afford is already where you're at. And so I'm having this conversation with him one day, and he said, and I'm challenging him because I'm listening to his stories, and I'm like, well, how did you afford that guy? And why'd you pick that guy? That was so, far out. And he's like, look, I'd rather have 10% of the time of a CFO that can take me to 100 million than 100% of the time of a CFO that's going to go to 1 million. And so, so the concept is that who do you need to go forward? What does your business need to accomplish the vision or the purpose? That's the dream team. And what I learned from Kevin is you got to get creative. You've got to get creative sometimes to put the right team together. And he's got this great story that he can share around the concept of the dream team with the L'Oreal folks. And I'll let him share that, because that's when I started to really learn that as an entrepreneur, if you can put together the dream team, and that's why the business I currently have is doing so well, because I didn't hire who I can afford. I hired who was going to take me where I wanted to go. And I had to get creative. I had to involve some equity. I had to involve some creative ways of incentivizing them. But I now have the dream team. And that's why I'm scaling beyond where I've gone before, because I was in the way. So Kevin, you want to share your dream team story that kind of inspired me?
So I had an idea. This is back probably 5-6 years ago now, but I said, we were launching a mobile app, and I'm like, what's the most important thing in launching a mobile app? Getting users to download the app, because it could be a great app, but if no one's using it, there's no real business. So I went to Sprint, and I ended up through layers, got up to the CEO, Marcelo Clar, and I pitched him that just like the downtime of TV in the old days, Discovery Channel had 6 hours of downtime. When you get your mobile phone, your screen has open spaces that you could put a mobile app. And how about we do a venture? You put my app on all your phones that you sell, and I'll give you equity and I'll give you a percentage of sales. And this guy, he's 6'6". He got up. He was all excited. He'd bring people in. We're going to do this deal. And he said, yes. He says, I'll put you on 6 million phones. 1 million a month, because that's how many phones Sprint was selling. So now I had the deal with Sprint, and we signed a letter of intent. They were going to invest money with us also. But I needed a management team, and I needed experts, and we also needed to go raise the capital. And so this app involves celebrities and beauty products in the beginning, in the very start. And so I found a gentleman. I said, boy, to get the right guy is going to be expensive, because this is going to be a big business. And so, make a long story short, I live in St. Pete, Florida. I found a gentleman that was retired. He had been the president of L'Oreal Beauty, lived out in Clearwater, but he was still, I love getting these retired guys sometimes, because just because they're retired doesn't mean they don't have a lot of time and a lot of energy to do things. So, make a long story short, I brought him in. He said, I'd love to help you out. This is great. He says, I make $1 million a year. And so hire me for $1 million. I mean, happy to do it. That's what L'Oreal was paying me. And I said, look, this is a startup. We don't have that. I said, I don't need you full time. I said, what if I just needed you like a couple days a month? Do you think you could make it on 10 grand a month? And he's like, 10 grand a month, this opportunity. Yeah, maybe there's a little upside for me somewhere. Yeah, you know what? Let's make that work. Okay. He says, I can do that. So then I said, well, let me tell you how you're going to get paid the 10 grand a month. Okay. We're going to go raise the money, and that's going to take a few months. And so let's say it takes 3 months, or maybe it's 4 months. You're going to have accrued 4 months at 10 grand a month. So we're not going to pay you until the money comes in, but we'll owe you 40,000 then when the money comes in, and you'll get paid. So in effect, what we had is $1 million a year guy that we got for no money down for 4 months. And then he started getting paid, and this all worked. And this is, so sometimes again, we couldn't have afforded this person, but the way we structured it, and we ended up bringing him on as the COO of the company, and of course, other opportunities that equity-wise and things like that. So I say, I've another much quicker story, but I live in Tampa, Florida. MacDill Air Force Base is here. I was dealing with a gentleman that had a business selling to the military. And I said, let's go out to MacDill. There's retired generals there, and they want to help business owners. And this is one of their business models, is mentoring and helping entrepreneurs get access and open doors. So you got to go for the gusto. And like Mark said, how did he get a shark? He had to ask, right? If you don't ask, you're not going to get. So
he had to ask, and
do.
The thing that you guys are talking about is being creative. Like, if you're going to attract top talent, you have to think differently than all the competition's thinking about this stuff. Now, here at Ramsey Solutions, we don't do debt, we don't do equity, we don't do partnerships. I say we. I mean, Dave doesn't, so therefore we don't. But I'm so privileged to get to work at a place where, I have this entrepreneur spirit, and sure, I've got the skill set to go build and do my own thing, but I've been here a long time, and Dave, he didn't sell me just on the job that I was going to do when I came in. He sold me on the opportunity of where we were going, and he gave me a comp plan that gets a percentage of when this thing grows, I get to benefit as if I'm an owner. I get paid today effectively as an owner, small percentage of a really big bottom line, but that small percentage is more than many CEOs make. And I'm going, are you kidding? I get to participate as if I own this thing, and I get all the benefits of the platform and, what Dave has built this thing to, and I've been able to build it with him, and an incredible talent that I get to work with. I mean, that's another thing people miss out on. They want to work with other talented people. You bring in eagles, you want other eagles around, because if you bring in somebody that's a thoroughbred and they look up, it's a bunch of donkeys. I'm mixing metaphors now with animals. We're running in a zoo. But the point is, you go, I don't want to be around these people, and so you've got to be creative when you're attracting and recruiting people, and think outside the box a little bit. It sounds like that's the kind of the core principle, what you guys are saying.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely you have to make pursuit. This is why I say aggressive curiosity is important, because what I was doing, I was hitting all the trade shows. I went to the hardware show and the houseware show. Oh, what am I doing at the houseware show? I'm connecting with the guy that writes Homeworld magazine. He's the editor publisher. Why? Because he's going to want to write about my new products and my new relationship. So, so I would go into each one of these shows with a mission. I want to find new products. I want to connect with the media. And because now, as I'm growing my business, I met the publisher of Homeworld magazine almost 30 years ago. He's still the publisher of Homeworld magazine. And every year when I see him at the Houseware show in Chicago, except for this last year, COVID, right? I've been 33 out of 35 years in a row. And outside of the 2 years of, one of COVID, another one I was deathly ill. But this is how I like to make deals, is go to these shows, aggressive curiosity, meet the right people. And then when you need some help, when you need that dream team, hey, do you think the guy that writes for Homeworld magazine might know a thing or two about some of the top people in the industry that might be able to help you out with distribution or development or packaging or whatever the needs may be? So we've got that in all the industries that we've been involved with because of that aggressive curiosity for the last 30 some years.